The Pot Dahlias have finished. They've done their thing. And I'm going to take them out today. The whole story is that I planted 10 Pot Dahlia tubers. So after 6 weeks I started taking cuttings, and I've taken 46 cuttings, which we'll have a look at later. And what's left now, you can see we've still got some shoots coming on the majority of the tubers, but the shoots are very thin. And these are not viable. I've taken some cuttings last week from the thin shoots, and they're simply not able to maintain their hydration. There's not enough of the shoot to take up water before the roots can develop, and therefore these tubers are now finished. They've worked very hard and they're worn out. As to the question of whether they can be planted out now, well, the short answer is yes, they can, but I don't think we're going to get good plants from these tubers now, so I'll be discarding them. Let's have a look at what we've got anyway. This tuber, I think, put out a couple of cuttings early on and then has given up the ghost, so that's rotted now. This one is still putting shoots out, and it's got a really good root system. But the tuber itself is small, and is exhausted. This one, I think, out of all of the tubers, this one put out the most cuttings. Very extensive roots. The tubers have shrunk in size, notably, from when they were planted. You could plant that and see what it did. Perhaps allow just one shoot to develop, and it will take off and will produce a plant, certainly. But we've got so many cuttings, all of which are doing really well, that it's really little purpose in planting that tuber now. It's done its job. It's interesting to see just how much root these tubers produce. It's quite a healthy looking tuber system. But because we've been taking cuttings continuously from here, it's really got a bit of a mess. You take these off as we go to allow the shoots that we're going to take cuttings from to thicken up. But it's really finished now, that. This one here I don't think did much at any stage. Oh, I may be wrong. It's the tubers are quite good actually. There was one tuber here which dehydrated really before it put any shoots out, so we lost one. And the others I think have all put out some shoots. This one stopped a while ago. It's really a very unhealthy looking tuber. Some rot there. It's dehydrated. If I just can almost break into it. So if we look at this tuber closely, there's just some rot starting there. See the change of colour. And this part of the plant here is sort of mushy. So that's a goner. And the last one. Quite healthy looking. Still putting shoots out, but very thin. I did a video last week of where I took these cuttings, the thin cuttings, and 2 out of 4 of them wilted. I've got them here, I'll get them out again. Just take a second look at these. A few days after we inspected them and put them back in the plastic bags. This was the least viable looking. And like I said the other day, I don't think that one's going to survive. This one seems to have a chance because the shoot in the middle there is doing its best to remain viable. And then the other two are not doing too badly. About the same as it was the other day. There's still some wilt on that leaf, but this one particularly seems quite turgid. So that's taking water into that leaf without a doubt. And there's even a hint of some new growth there, I think. So I think that one's going to be all right. And this is the last one. It's about the same as that really. There's some wilt, but not completely flat. And this part of the plant, the growing shoot, seems to be okay. I'll just put them all back in their plastic bags and wait another week or two. Before pronouncing death on this one. So we've got 3 out of 4 which have got a chance, but they're not healthy looking cuttings, are they? So I'm not sure what sort of plant we're going to get out of them in the end anyway. So there's our collection of spent Dahlia pot tubers. They've all done their job. And we'll go and have a look now at all the cuttings that we've taken from them. So these here are the youngest ones, which are still putting roots out, I hope. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, which I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay. So we're outside now, and here are our Dahlia cuttings, our Pot Dahlia cuttings. So we started with 10 Pot Dahlia tubers, and we've taken 43 cuttings, from which we'll get 43 viable plants, each producing in the region of 20, 30 blooms. Great value, hard work, but well worth it. It's interesting to see how the roots are forming on these tubers. So this is a tuber clump, and on this plant we can see very clearly that the roots are emerging from the base of each tuber, and there are virtually no roots from anywhere else. That's as I would have expected. But on this one, things are a little different. If we just have a look at what we've got here. This is this year's tuber. These are this year's tubers. This darker tuber, now fairly well disintegrating, is the mother tuber. So that's the original tuber, last year's plant, which grew and produced these tubers. So that serves no purpose this year. But if we look at the root system, this tuber has put out roots at the base, which is as expected. But the roots on this are coming from up here near the stem. Some of the roots anyway. This longest root we can see here is coming from what appears to be the base of the stem, where the mother tuber produce the stem. You do quite often see roots on the side of a tuber. They're not clear enough. Often it's an irregularity on the side of the tuber, and roots emerge from it. There isn't one here to demonstrate that. All of these are coming from the base, and then on this one we've got these strange roots. Anyway, I think that's interesting. So that's the whole story on our Pot Dahlias, which have now finished and done their job. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time, I hope.